Welcome to Northwest School of Fly Fishing Virtual Fly Fishing Academy. I'm Mike Sandifer, and I'm your host today, and we're talking about fly fishing strategies for Freestone Rivers. We're up on the beautiful South Fork of the Payette River, and what we're going to do for you today in Volume 1 is we're going to go over strategy on how we fly fish these Freestone Rivers. Now, there are two types of rivers that we're fly fishing as fly fishermen. We're fishing Tailwater Rivers and we're fishing Freestone Rivers. So one way or the other, you're fishing one or the other, so and each one has a different strategy in how we fly fish it. So what we're dealing with today is a free river, unrestricted by man, and we're dealing with trout that are very hungry. These Freestone Rivers don't have a lot of food in them, and typically what you see on these Freestone Rivers, or most trout, are just kind of looking up and looking for that one bit of food that might supplement their daily intake. So with that in mind, we also have to understand a little bit about these Freestone River trout is they're very spooky. It doesn't take much to scare a Freestone River trout. And once you scare a Freestone River trout, you're done. So when we talk about strategies, we have to talk about strategies of how we fly fish these rivers with these kind of things in mind. So the biggest hurdle that you're going to have to get over in fly fishing these rivers successfully is we cannot scare these fish. And that means we just can't run up on them. We got to work our way to them. It would be just the opposite on a Tailwater River. What we're going to do today is we don't see fish rising in Freestone Rivers. Rarely do we see it. It's not uncommon, but it's not what we would call the norm. So we don't even know where we're going to put our fly. In a Tailwater River, when we see fish rising, we know where our dry fly is going. So we have to kind of read the river and look at the river and figure out where you think these fish are. And once you've done that, then you can start blending in your strategy and working this river like a golf course. You just want to work a golf course with a lot of strategy, and eventually you're going to work your way to the green and sink the hole. Here it's the same way. You got to understand where these fish live. They don't live in this flat water here. Fish live in really compressed water. And what we're trying to do today is read this river like a book. Fish in Freestone Rivers don't like to be in flat water. It's real scary. They don't like to be in flat, shallow water because they can get picked off by birds and prey. They don't like to be in flat water because they don't have eyelids. They can't close their eyes. It's hard for them to hide. Where they love to be is in fast-moving water, what we call compressed water. Pocket water, a river will turn, a river will drop in elevation. These are the things that we're looking for. So once we've identified this type of water, we know there's trout in it. So what I'm going to do today is really start honing in on the strategy. Strategy is important. Without strategy, you can't fly fish. And that's what the Volume 1's all about, is talking about how we're going to fly fish a certain river and where these fish are in the South Fork of the Payette. Okay, I've worked my way down to that section that I showed you earlier, and you get a little different perspective when you're down here on the water. So as I'm looking at this run here, what's important is that I really work my fly up. Work it up, work it up. You got to remember, I'm working behind these trout, so it's imperative that I take my time and work it. When I'm done, I'm done. The second thing that's important is I have to have my fly high and dry at all times. If my fly's not dry, I'm not gonna be able to bring these fish up to the fly. So let's give it a whirl, and I'll show you exactly how I would work this. It's very simple. I only have maybe 5 feet of fly line out. I'm just going to lay that down in the water. Just work it through. There I am, just starting right here at the bottom. It's not very exciting. Sometimes you get them, sometimes you don't. The worst thing I could possibly do is walk up on this section and scare these fish that may be down here at the bottom. So I'm kind of letting my fly dry a little bit as I put it back down. I might have dropped that fly 6 feet in front of me. Just slowly working my way up. And dry it off a little bit. That one maybe about 7 feet. Now, I have the fly visually. I constantly have that fly in my eyesight. You may not be able to see it, but I'm watching that fly. That one went a little further. Give it a little air dry here. So I've worked the inside seam to my left. I'm going to start bringing the fly a little bit towards the middle and to the right. So what I have here is I have a strategy that I'm using. Working it in there. Okay, now I've worked this lower section pretty good. Eventually I want to get all the way up there to the top. So now I can really move without spooking any of these fish. So I get a little closer, and that's going to keep my line length about where it is right now, under control. Again, I never lose sight of the fly. And I let that fly drift naturally back to the water that I've already fly fished. And I know I didn't get any strikes there, and I know I can pick it up at that point and give it another cast. So again, I've worked this water a little close. Now I can move up a little closer. I got a little flat rock here I can stand on. Right there. Kind of change the perspective a little bit. I can start getting in that little rougher water. All the way now I'm at the top. Work that fly all the way through. So at this point, I've worked every single drift. From the inside seam my way. At this point, now I'm going to take my fly all the way to the top and run it right through. Again, keeping it in view. I have it right in my eyesight right now. As hard as it is for me to see, a good pair of glasses will let me cut that surface glare. And I see it right now. And a few more casts and I'll have this hole fished. And that's that classic tail out as it goes down the river. These trout on Freestone Rivers love to be in them. They're going to be either just in that gentle water off to the side, or they're going to be on the other side. In the middle here, it's just too rough for them. But as the water softens and the tailwater kind of tails out, you'll find fish all the way in. What I mean by that is when the speed of the seam, now we know a seam is where slow water and fast water come together. When the speed of the slow section of the seam, when the speed of that seam is equal across the river to the other seam, you're going to find fish all in there. And as you look down this tail out, it's going to reach a point where I can cast anywhere along the seam and bring up a fish or two. To the point where, if you look way downriver, you're going to start seeing it get flat again. We don't fish flat water. So the fish are really going to be up close, up tight, right here at the top of the run, all the way down like that until the speed of the seam is equal across the river. That's what you're looking for when you're reading water on these rivers. So typically when we're reading water, we read it from the road or we read it from the trail. And we spot these sections, and then from that position, we map out exactly how we're going to fly fish this river. So we just rolled up here, and I got to fish the section right in front of me. I got one fish rise up to me, but I probably have another 15 minutes of fly fishing through here. And that's what these holes do. So economy of time dictates that we spend all our time fishing the most productive section of all rivers. This is certainly one of the most productive sections of a Freestone River. Two of the most common mistakes I see anglers make when they're fly fishing Freestone Rivers is that they don't keep their fly dry and they're fishing flat water. So what you see in front of me right here is flat water. The rule of thumb is on a Tailwater River or a Freestone River, we never fish flat water, ever fish flat water, unless we see fish rising in it. The fish are not in this water, and when I see anglers fly fishing on a Freestone River, this type of water, I know they're just burning up time. Economy of time dictates that we spend all the time fishing the most productive sections of the river. The second mistake I see anglers make on Freestone Rivers is they don't keep their fly dry. It's critical that your dry fly remains high and dry on the water. Trout on Freestone Rivers are looking to supplement their diet for insects that are on top of the surface. When you're floating your fly through the water that's either in the surface film or under the surface film, that is not food to a trout. Trout are attracted to your fly by the impression it makes on the meniscus or on the surface film. So you want to bring with you at least two different types of fly floating, a liquid and a dry shake. And that's going to keep your fly floating high and dry. So when we go to these big tailwater rivers, and there's a lot of people there, people are there to catch the big fish, or they're there for the namesake, or they may hire a guide, and you have anglers vying for sections of the river, and you got cars and people everywhere. Change of tactics. Go to a Freestone River. Todd and I have been on the South Fork Payette, all day long, and we haven't seen a single fly fisherman. We've caught lots of fish, and we've just enjoyed the day. No competition. Pine trees, the beauty. It's cool up here, so it's a real treat every time that I get on a Freestone River. Certainly, the South Fork of the Payette is one of my favorite rivers to fly fish, and you do yourself good if you start fishing more Freestone Rivers. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to look us up on our website, Northwest School of Fly Fishing, and you can find us on Instagram and Facebook. See you on the river.